Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, yes, new hair. I got really bored and I'm going to talk about that in a later video, but for today, we are jumping into a really exciting new product launch that is coming exclusively to the November Boxycharm box. So if you want to talk through all the details on the beautiful Peak Palette from Natasha Denona, all the spoiler info, what box it's coming in, retail value, all of that stuff, make sure to keep on watching. I am going to do a full tutorial trying out the palette on this eye look right here, and we're going to do all of that in today's video. I'm not even going to waste any more of your time with any long, drawn-out intro. Subscribe to my channel, like the video, all that fun stuff, and stay tuned. Alright, so first, details. This palette is coming exclusively to Boxycharm in the November Boxycharm Base Box. This is used, I used it today, so this is not as beautiful as it looked when it was brand new, so I'm going to put a little clip of when I first got it. But this palette is so pretty. I'm going to be completely honest, this isn't a review. The palette is beautiful. I've already tried it. I've already used it. You see the look right here. We're going to demo that, and you guys will see the full details. But look at this fall palette. I think November is the perfect month for this to come. I don't know if I said this in the intro, but this is not sponsored. I'm not getting paid to say this. I have loved the Natasha Denona formula for years. If you look on that back shelf behind me, actually it's kind of blurry, but the Natasha Denona Lila palette is back there. I've been using it for years. I love her palettes. I love her formula. A little bit on the pricey side, this size palette usually retails for $50 for 5 shadows. So for 10 bucks a shade, that is a lot. I did use 4 of the 5 shadows today. I did not use this mauve-y one just because I wanted something a little bit warmer, but I'm loving how it all turned out. With this palette, you can go warm, you can go neutral, you can go cool. You can really play around with the variety because the shimmer that you use works and complements all of them perfect. And I did want to go with this pumpkin spice glam feel today. So that is exactly what we did. I will be back in a little bit to talk through some details, but let's jump into the tutorial. To start, I'm going to take a little bit of the concealer from my Beauty For Real MVP, and I'm just going to use that to prime my lids. I take it on a fluffy, well, pretty packed actually, dome-topped brush. It would probably help if I had a mirror in front of me. And I'm just going to prime the lids. Normally, I would set this primer with a translucent powder or some sort of face powder. But there is actually a perfect tone in this palette for the job. So we're going to use that instead. Once I apply it down, I do like to take the clean side of my sponge and just pull up any residual items that I don't need, just so that it's not too thick on the eye. And then dipping into the palette, which is beautiful, I'm going to start with the shade Aya, which is the lightest bone color shade, and I should probably grab a clean brush. I'm going to grab, this is a Makeup Shack T50, and I'm going to pick up a decent amount of that, and I'm just going to set down the entire lid area. This is fairly light, so for me, this is skin tone for setting down this area. On someone deeper, this might be a really cool shade to pat over a cut crease. If you really want a bright cut crease. Actually, on anyone, this would be a really nice shade on a matte cut crease. And then with whatever's left on my brush, I'm just going to really buff that in to make sure that the powder has completely set down the eye primer. And now I'm going into Jasper, and all I did was took a little bit of that and really just mapped out where I wanted the crease to go. And I went into the socket, so when I look forward, you can only barely see it because I do have hooded eyes. I'm going to go in with the darker shade on the outer corner, and I'm going to really focus on more neutral tones on the lid itself. So for the socket and crease is the only place I really want this warm color. So I'm really focusing it in the socket, and then turning my brush to the side, I'm going to blend it up the crease, so that you have this neutral brown down here, and it will gradiate and blend into this terracotta orangey red shade. And once I feel like I have that where I want it, I'm going to take a tiny bit more of that same shade on a fluffier brush. I'm going to tilt my head back and hold my brush basically standing straight up, and I'm going to blend it above the crease. By looking down at the mirror and holding my brush like this while I blend, For those of you with hooded eyes, this is what's going to make sure that when you look forward, you can see the color. Notice the difference from here to here. I'm looking straight on, and even though I have hooded eyes, you can still see that color on my lid. So brush straight up, look down at your mirror, and blend up. This is a tip I picked up years ago from watching Desi Perkins. She used to always look down at her mirror and blend like this because it would make her eyes look bigger. And I realized that for people with hooded eyes, it really helps the color to be visible when we're looking forward. Because otherwise, if I just focus in my crease, like the socket, you won't see my eyeshadow when my eyes are open. Now, this is not my first Natasha Denona palette. I love the Lila palette, so I'm going to tell you the formula is a dream. I can already tell you I love the formula because it is one that I am quite familiar with and have been using for years, even after the reformulation, because she did tweak her formula a few years ago, but I don't really find an issue with the new formula. And I love the way that this looks. Beautiful. Going back into the same packer brush that I used before, I'm going to go into the middle shade of the palette, which is Thorn. And I'm going to take that, taking quite a bit of that color, and I'm going to pat it really close to my lash line down here, and then I'm going to work it just up to the crease and only on the outer third of my eye. And I'm building it up gently, so I'm going to pack it on, blend it and soften it, then pick up a little bit more, and repeat until I have the desired level of intensity. And I'm actually not taking that above the socket because I really want to keep that intense orange where it is. But I am going to keep intensifying this because I do want it to be fairly dark on the lid itself. Jumping back into that fluffy brush one more time, I'm just going to lightly blend above the crease so that if any of that brown got in there, it'll be softened. I didn't put any additional product on my brush. I just went above what was already there and blended it out. All right, at this point, I'm going to go quickly throw on my brows, and I'll be right back just so I can see the intensity before I commit to how much lid space I want to use up with the sparkle. All right, brows are on, so I'm going to grab my lid brush. I know this formula is one that a lot of people do enjoy using with their fingers, but I personally, I don't really like using my fingers for like anything, if I'm going to be completely honest. So grabbing a packer brush, this one is from Delium Tools. It is the Delium 772. I'm going to take that with the sparkly shade Shine, and I'm going to actually load up quite a bit of that on the brush. And this will work dry, but I do always wet my shimmers no matter what. So I'm going to do just that. Quick baby blend of the crease, and then take a tiny bit more of that dark brown and just blend where those two edges come together. All right, I'm going to go throw on mascara, a lash, a little bit of brown liner in the waterline, and then I'm just going to take that same dark brown right here and the orangey terracotta around that, and I'll be right back so we can talk through the rest of the details. And this is the finished look. So thank you guys so much for sticking it out through the tutorial. I did just want to reiterate to you guys that this palette is coming exclusively to the November Boxycharm box. I'm going to pull up my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I am going to read to you guys what it does say on the PR packaging. Fall in love with the Peak Palette. Natasha took inspiration from peak foliage season when the leaves start to change colors in autumn to match the feel of the pigments and the palette's launch time. The Peak Palette has 5 pans including Form, warm-toned mattes, and 1 metallic in the shades Aya, Jasper, Thorn, Amhara, and Shine. I'm going to be completely honest. This palette, or this shade actually reads more cool than warm, but I didn't use it today, so you wouldn't actually notice that. But it is such a beautiful formula. Definitely a thumbs up from me as far as the product. And I'm going to try and do a few more looks out of the palette before it comes in the November base box, because you guys know I'm going to do a whole review on the base box itself. So you will see this palette again at least 2 or 3 times between then and now. Let me know down in the comment section what you guys think and all of your thoughts. Do you think this palette is exciting? I mean, every time they launch a palette in BoxyCharm, the comments are always split. Half the people say, I love neutrals, give me more, and half the people say, enough neutral palettes. I will say from a formula standpoint, like I am so here for this. Love the formula, and I can see myself gravitating towards a palette like this just because of how easy it was with 5 colors to just come up with a really simple look. I went super neutral on the cheeks. All I basically used was the Pretty Vulgar Cheek Palette and my normal base product. So this was actually a really easy face to achieve. If you want to see the rest of the details, I'm going to post me doing my face before this on Instagram. So you will see like the full-on tutorial of how I did this, but today we're focusing in this video just on eyes. So let me know down below what you guys are thinking. Leave all of your comments on the palette. Is it worth it? Do you like it? Because for $50, it's worth more than the whole retail value of the base box. So for $25 to get a $50 palette, it is definitely worth it for me. So spoiler alert, the November Boxycharm box is worth the subscription price. I will leave a link in the description box if you wanted to subscribe. It is a commission link, so I do make a small commission if you subscribe using that link. So thank you in advance for using that, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.